You're listening to Cassandra
and Jennifer with Authentically Woo Woo,
where we talk about spirituality, cosmos, balance, and living authentically.
In this episode, episode 3, today we talk about light workers, shadow workers, energy shifting, and finding that balance between light and dark. So what exactly is a light worker or a shadow worker? Energy shifting and all that. We'll focus on like light workers and shadow workers. So I know like Cassandra and I've talked about this before. We sort of kind of see them as like the same thing. And right? I'm speaking for you, but like same type, yeah. So a light worker is a person that transmutes darkness into light. So they are typically someone that has gone through some sort of trauma or hardship or something like that, and they have been able to see to turn that into a positive situation to help others learn that, hey, and we touched base on this in episode 2, there we go, that of how we not staying in that box of being the victim. If you haven't watched it, please watch episode 2, where we go into that a little bit more. So a light worker sees that this trauma or this hardship is actually an opportunity for healing and for insight. Because what are we here for? We're here to learn. So, a light worker is that person that like when you're around, you're like, you feel warm and fuzzy and you just feel like very, very light. Hot, hence the name. But like they make you feel positive. Mm-hmm. Would you have anything to add to that?
I think that's, I mean, should we give like maybe just a general, because I know this is a topic we both have a lot of things we want to talk about. Should we talk about like a little general idea of,
worker?
like, this is a basis of a light worker, a basis of like a shadow worker as well.
Yeah. So they have these 2 different categories, and I know that we've talked about it before. And okay, so here's a misconception of where they say that like a shadow worker is, like they deal with like the darkness and the occult, and that it is
because that's like society puts all of that into, it's either the I mean, I think even just the whole idea of being light worker or of the higher vibrational light energy, I think even that is pretty foreign. A lot of times it's like anytime you talk outside of the norm, it's like witch. Everybody goes witch, so like you were saying, like the
shadow worker gets that bad rap,
right?
Or light worker in general. Any of those energy shifters or workers will get that, but especially like shadow worker, because it has literally the word shadow in it. Right. So we have been trained, our minds have thought like, okay, well that's dark, like darkness is bad, darkness is not good. But like the yin and yang, you have to have that light with that dark, but we're not talking like dark evil. We're talking about like your shadow self, those shadow aspects of yourself.
That's where it's coming from,
shadow work. So what is that? Those are your jealousy, insecurities, like all of those like not good,
lower vibrational,
not happy feelings. And so you work through those and you realize that, oh, hey, well, why am I feeling this way? What situation has brought forth, within a lot of stuff happens in our childhood, right? And a lot of things happen throughout our life, but we build those common fears, those common core values and everything from our childhood of how we not only see ourselves, which then becomes our, you know, our narrative for the rest of our lives. And so sometimes those are not the best.
Right. Most times they're not the best.
Yeah. They're like, what are you doing, stupid? Gosh, I should have done that. That's awkward. You know, and so, you know, these are the things that are in our head. And so we have to like, okay, well, why am I feeling that, you know, that way? And we have to, you know, go into, gosh, this episode got like heavy fast, I feel.
Oh yeah, I knew it would though.
Yeah.
I've been chomping at the bit.
I'm like, we haven't laughed yet.
Yeah, no, like I think there's just so much information here.
Yeah,
it's, you know, the title doesn't do it justice alone. There's so much more. So this is how I like to think about it. So, you know, especially, I know, like I said, for me, like learning things, you know, being newer to certain things and how I grasp things, you know, for me, I take the word worker out of it.
Yes.
You know, just light and shadow, like you said. What is light? Light, you know, you mentioned the higher vibrational things. What is shadow? It's, you know, your more of your ego side, you know, the lower vibrational things. And I know a lot of this episode, you know, kind of goes into energy and things of energy. So, I don't know, maybe now would be a good time for my little
I think so.
diagram.
I think so.
This is my cone, my diagram. So I love energy, and I know we've talked a little bit about, you know, in general, everything has energy. The you know, there's so many things, law of attraction, karma, concepts, there's so many different things. So this is how I look at it. And when it comes to high energy, low energy, light, dark, and just to be clear, energy is not like, oh, I'm such an upbeat person, or I'm like, go, I've got lots of energy. If you're low energy, that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm chill. I'm just an easy go. That is not what we mean. You can be a very high, you know, high vibrational person, and it's not low. Don't think of low energy as in like your motivation or sluggish. What we're talking about is, here's my low cone. Go back to my low cone. So if you visualize, you know, kind of like an upside down pyramid, okay? Down here, you've got lower vibration. Up here is higher vibrational topics, okay? So down at the bottom, you're going to find things like shame, fear, doubt, grief, pride, you know, and you just kind of work your way up. You know, you get to a point where maybe midway you're looking at something more like courage, or the ability to look at, you know, your thoughts more neutrally, or be in situations and see different perspectives a little more neutrally. You know, willingness to, you know, to whatever, to learn, to listen, and you go up higher, and you've got reason, and then you've got love, and you've got joy, you got peace, you got enlightenment, and you're like, I wish I had like this thing on my voice where it's like, so you get to the top and you're like, enlightened, you know. So it's think of it more along when we talk light and we talk shadow. Connect it more towards these feelings and these vibrations and these energies. So, you know, going back to the concept of a light worker, or you could think of it, you know, there's lighthouse, or anything where you have a person, you know, who is making a conscious effort, you know, because I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Like a conscious effort to share those higher vibrational energies. And this is where the yin and yang comes. How do you do that? Well, you do that by addressing, like you said, asking the why and understanding the shadow aspects.
Yep.
You know, so it's not to say I'm high vibrational. No, I'm not going to think about that. I'm high vibrational. You know, it's they go hand in hand. You know, and instead of saying, I know for me, like, and just grasping the concept, maybe instead of shadow worker, you could even think of it as like shadow work, as in you are working on yourself. You are addressing these lower vibrational energies, the things that make you feel sad, the things that make you feel like garbage, the things that make you feel like when someone walks in the room and they're like, are you okay? What is that doing? Why are they, you know what I mean? That's energy. That's all energy. And so by thinking on those things when they come up and understanding them and coming from, and there's so many things, because then you tie in like being understanding who you're meant to be and designed and like that common core. And I've said this before, it's like, all of this, and this is why it's a heavy topic, because I think there's so much here, you know. And how do you even do this? How do you even do shadow work?
Yeah.
It coming from you have to have a point where you get to where enough is enough. You know, like we talked about the last episode, I am no longer the victim. You know, getting to a point in your life where you can grab on to these concepts, address them, not try to hide them down or not deal with them. Deal with them, but to do that, you have to work through it. So you have to have a common sense of understanding of like, stop telling yourself you're this, stop telling yourself you're that, you know what I'm saying, right?
So okay, so we are, you know, I think we strive as to be light, and so like you're saying before that, well, if you're light, you can't have this shadow aspect, and that's where we're like, no, you can't. Like you have to.
How often are we told to hide our feelings?
Well,
don't
and that's
show
exactly
emotion. Don't show tears.
Don't put baby in the corner.
Yeah.
Don't put your shadows in the corner. Like, because what happens is that if you're like, oh, that's a really bad, like, I'm jealous. I shouldn't be jealous. And then you're like, okay, or, oh, that's a bad thought. I'm just gonna press that way down. What is that doing? That's just gonna fester. And then next thing you know, it's gonna come out and rear its ugly head, and you're like, holy shit, where'd that come from? And so you don't want to do that. And this is like what so I had a therapist, psychologist actually tell me this one time. And it was after I went through the accident. They had to do this whole like mental health evaluation and everything to see like how I was coping. And one of the things that she said to me, and because it was very true, and Cassandra can even say, like, I've done a lot of work over the last 5 years. Because even like I was that kid that when mom, you know, came to me and her and dad were getting divorced, or if she would ever have to talk to me about anything that I didn't want to hear, I would stick my hands in my ears, la 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 la, and like I didn't want to hear it. And so I'm like, oh well, if that's bad, like oh no, we'll just shove that down. And it was so interesting because it came out in this test that I had to take. And so the psychologist was like, listen, it's okay to have these like feelings of like being scared, these feelings of anxiety, and you know, like something major happened to you. And so it was so cool, and it was like her giving me permission to be human, and to not have these expectations of being perfect all of the time, being, I don't know,
which is why we're doing
authentic. And so, but one of the things that she told me to do, and I love this, and I've told this to many friends, to you know, our kids, that like whenever you have a bad thought, and And my mom, like, she had even heard about this, and she told me this too. And so I thought that was really cool that like the psychologist and my mommy were both like
on the same
yeah,
page.
on the same page. Of like where when you have a bad thought or something bad or negative or whatever it may be, whenever it comes up, that you are like, okay, you know what, like right now, I am human. I am feeling this emotion. Mm-hmm. Or I'm really angry right now. Why am I angry? And you know what? I'm not an angry person. I'm feeling anger.
Right.
And so to just take a minute, close your eyes, and envision like this like cloud like coming out of you. And this cloud has a title of anger on it. And then you're like, wow, okay, you're an angry little cloud. I see you. And I know this sounds so silly, but like it helps. Like it really does. And so it's like, wow, okay, I see you. I hear you. I understand. Yeah. And you know what? I release you. And you're kind of like and this is like a very, very simple, basic thing, right? Yeah. Like this is like there goes way into depth. But then you like just like release this cloud, and in like this meditative, and you can do this like physically, like how I just did, or in like a meditative train of thought, which might make more sense. And with your eyes closed, and then like you're sitting in a field or wherever your favorite meditative spot is, and then this cloud just like releases up into the air. And then just floats away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's this sort of releasing ceremony almost.
Yeah. I think an example too, one of the things you mentioned, like you said, you know, if you, let's say you feel jealousy, okay, that's a lower vibrational energy. Yep. So, you know, and this is, and I know for me and my story, which if you've heard any of the other podcasts, you get the gist of it coming from, you know, very insecure environment. So let's use jealousy, for example. So realizing that feeling. Okay. So if you're feeling jealousy, okay, why? And looking at the why. Why am I feeling jealousy? Well, that sounds a lot to me like if you dealt with the shadows, which in my case was the insecurities, the, you know, the negative worth, wanting to hide in. Well, you can only want to hide for so long. You know, I don't believe that's God's intention. So eventually you're going to be like, man, look at that person over there really doing their thing.
Or you're just going to become extremely bitter, right?
Exactly, which is, you know.
Oh, did I skip a part? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, we're going down. You made part of my point, is like you start with this negative feeling and you add more negative feelings. You're just lower and lower vibrational, you know, but it's like instead, if we looked at that feeling of jealousy and said, you know, why am I jealous? You know, or who's making, you know, what's making me jealous? Well, that person over there, that, I know it sounds silly, but we talked about this at the last getaway we did, and we were all sharing different like insecurities. And I know, like, when you met me, even like I wouldn't wear jewelry, I wouldn't wear earrings, I wouldn't wear necklaces, I wouldn't wear color, because it was just, I was so insecure. And I felt like this bright light was shining on me. And if light's shining on me, people see your flaws. They see all the things I'm lacking of, because that self-esteem was so low. So it's like you can look at someone and be like, man, look at that girl over there, you know, wearing those cool earrings. I wish I could wear those earrings. Well, asking yourself, well, why can't you wear those earrings? Yeah. Well, because I feel like everybody would stare at me, because I would feel like it would draw attention. Well, why is that a problem? Yeah. You know, and the truth of the matter is most of the time people don't give two craps about what you're wearing or not. And it's your own insecurity. Yeah. And then you have this aha moment. Holy crap. People probably don't care. Yeah. No. You know, why don't I wear the earrings? Why don't I, you know, and so you work through those feelings of jealousy, which actually were masked over by, you know, feelings of insecurity. And so it's like you're working up the ladder instead of down, instead of
Yeah.
continuing to be jealous, being bitter. Like, and what does that make? That makes difficult to be around, hateful. It matters. It all matters so much.
Yeah.
And that was one of the other things is, energy and these concepts and like the chain reaction of that. It's like, let them wear their pretty earrings and be happy. You handle you, deal with the shower. You wear your pretty earrings and be happy for you. And it's just like, if you don't do that, and let's say you become the person that becomes more bitter and more, what is that? Is that a person that's fun to be around? Is that a person that feels good to be around?
No.
Is that a person that you want to spend time with, or that you're like, I don't know how to fix this person. They're so just lost in their wallow of deep emotion that until they ask, why am I so jealous about that person's earrings? They have to do that for them. And I think so many times society goes and says, like you said, hide the emotions, don't show this, and they want you to keep all of this stuff under wraps, and everybody feel like they have everything all under control, and the person that wants to sit and focus on these things, well, that's selfish. Like, they're like, or that's conceited. It's not supposed to be all about you, but really it's like, until you figure out you, what are you given? If I figure out me and wear my earrings and work on my self-esteem, I'm going to give her a lot more of enjoyable breakfast date than if I'm sitting there staring at her earrings,
Stupid
bitter.
earring
And,
wearing.
oh my God, Cassandra, what is wrong? Are you okay? No, I'm fine.
They're like,
these old things?
what's wrong?
And so then I affect you, and then you have a negative experience. You go home, you're like, I don't know what's up with Cassandra. And I know you in your brain, you'd be like, what did I say? What did I do? And then your family feels it, and your people pick. And hello, what do we have? A chain reaction of negativity, of shadow, of negative. But if we wear the earrings and we deal with the shadows and we have the light, and then you were like, oh my God, Cassandra, you look so beautiful, because it radiates, and your confidence will be seen by your light. Yeah. Okay. And then you have your light. And then how does that affect your day? And it's so beautiful.
It is. So chain reactions. Like, there's like two examples, like two other examples. Either like when you're checking out at the store and you get...
I struggle with that so much.
Oh, gosh.
I'm working on my confidence, but it's like when they're like, especially at Publix.
Yeah, because we're shopping as a pleasure.
How are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, you're talking to me. Oh my God, a human is talking to me. Those self-esteem things, like, what, oh my God, what do I say? Overanalyzing to say the right thing or not say. Anyways, but yeah.
So I'm that person where, like,
you'll talk their ear off,
absolutely.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And if they're like, oh, hi. Or if they don't, if they're just like, hi. And I'm like, hey, how are you? How is your day going? Like, I genuinely want to know. And like, if I see that they're having a bad day, or, the worst is like when you get this like really
grouchy,
crackety. That's a good word. Thank you. A grouchy. This grouchy person in front of you, and they're like, and they like get their stuff, and or if they're really crappy to the cashier, like, oh, I cannot stand it when people are rude to like, to people that are just trying to do their job. Yeah. And
I just freeze and don't make eye contact. But I'm nice about it.
So like, and I'm like that person that if I see someone grouchy, I like to make it like super awkward and then be like, I'm so sorry that person.
See you doing that.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that person was grouchy. Like, because I don't want them to then wear off their negative energy onto the cashier. And then that cashier is like upset. And now, like, she's going to be upset, and then it's just going to pass on to, like, everyone else. And then that is the whole butterfly effect of negativity and grouchiness and whatever else that it will lead into. So I see it, and I try to break it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry that person was grouchy. You're doing such a fantastic job. Like, or, that color looks great on you. Compliment them, or, like, do something, say something to make them feel better. And then, like, sometimes, like, I'll even take it a step forward and go to the manager and be like, wow, like, little Susie on checkout 3, like, she was so helpful and she was so kind and sweet to me. And then that has the same effect.
Yep.
Right? So, well, not the same effect. That has the same butterfly effect, but in a positive light. Mm-hmm. So then you are shifting that whole energy to where she feels confident. She feels good. She's going to be more talkative and to all the other little people that come into her line. And then those little people are going to go home and spread their light to others. And it's the same, which I am terrible. Like, authentic moment, I get behind my car or behind my wheel in my car. And sometimes... sometimes, like, people really aggravate me. Some grouchy people that drive different really frustrate me. And so I have to really breathe. And I point this out to my kids. Like, I make sure one day, was it this morning? If it wasn't this morning, it was yesterday. I'm pretty sure it was this morning. We got behind. A guy pulled out in front of us.
Okay.
And, like, easy 25 and a 55. And I couldn't pass him. And so I'm like, okay. And then we got red light after red light. And I was grumpy. Like, I was like, rah, 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 I was like, just like stewing this big black cloud around me. And we kept getting red light. And finally, the third red light, I was like, okay, universe, I see you. I'm sorry. Like, you're right. I am grumpy, and you're just giving me more bad stuff because I am basically begging for it at this point in time of just being grumpy.
That law of attraction.
Yes. Yeah. And nasty. And so then I used it as like a turning point. And I was like, all right, so do you guys see this? I'm like, apparently God in the universe thinks that I need to learn patience this morning. Yeah. And I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. I'm really sorry for all my little grumpiness. And you know what? If we need to go slow today, then we need to go slow. Mm-hmm. And after that, it was a whole, again, energy shift. Yeah. And then we started getting green lights. And I always point that out to the kids too, because I want them to see
the good, the effect,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds
I didn't finish my sentence. The effect
I'm
of
sorry.
that. Yeah, no, meaning because, like, I don't finish my words, and you know what I mean, but you might not know what I mean. But she's like, I could be like, but that might not make sense to you. Anyways, but yes, talking to your children about so you can kind of show the differences. And,
yes. Yeah. And it's like a good teaching moment, and it's being authentic too of like saying like, yes, I am human and I had these negative grouchy feelings, but you know what? It was okay. I let go of them. I identified them, let them know what was going on, and then I released them. Yeah. Just like I'm going to release you for a potty break as we listen to a wonderful commercial from our awesome sponsors.
Welcome to the DW World History Series. I'm your host, David Wainwright, and I'll be taking you through 3,000 years of Egyptian history, beginning with King Narmer and ending with the last native Egyptian ruler, Nekhtaneba II, in 343 BC. If you follow our video series, you experience one of the most detailed presentations on this great civilization. A podcast series is available for download at dwworldhistory.com. Here you will also find detailed outlines for each episode with additional resource material, maps, and bibliographies. Please remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And now, join us as we take you through the world of history.
So before our break, I was discussing of how using those moments of energy shifting to use as teaching examples for my kids, and pointing out to them, how the thoughts shift the energy, which then leads to this whole snowball effect, whether good or bad, depending upon your thoughts or that energy that's behind it.
Yeah.
So Cassandra, tell us a little bit more about energy and how that affects.
So yeah, one more thing I definitely, wanted to share, kind of going back to some of the things you said, and, one of the reasons why we're wanting to do this, we've mentioned in the, in a couple of our descriptions and whatnot, and, increasing the vibration and, awareness, or whatever you would have it be, as far as helping for the collective, and I remember I was trying to, like, when you're trying to explain that to someone,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like,
for the collective conscious,
right,
where the Borg come and we're all plugged in to the machine, the collective conscious.
Well, then you have the woo-woo element of it. It's like, what are you doing to my conscience? It's like, and it can be, I don't know, it could sound over spiritualized or complicated, but,
or just crazy.
Yeah. But this is kind of how I like to describe it. So, you've traveled.
Oh, slightly.
You've traveled.
A little bit.
I've traveled. So, I'll never forget the first time my husband and I went to North Carolina. So, we're from Florida. We're in Florida.
We'll adopt you. We'll say you're from Florida. You've been here long enough. She's actually Yankee blood, but
I was born in Ohio, but yeah. So I'll never forget, though, the first time that we went to North Carolina. So we're driving, and it's just like this pleasant experience. Unlike I-4 in Orlando. It's like everybody cutting you off.
We just have a whole bunch of gray clouds around the cars.
Yeah. I mean, I probably could have a whole month series of all the various accidents I missed on I-4, because people drive so insane. So anyways, but I'll never forget us going, to North Carolina. And we got in, and I'm trying to remember the story exactly, but it was pretty late. But basically the gist of it is this. So we go to get gas, and everybody is like, hey, how are you doing? Like, they'd hold doors and look you in the eye, and not like, yeah, I'm holding a door because that's what I'm supposed to do. But actually like, here's the door I'm opening for you. How are you doing? And we're like, what the freak is going on? And it just kept happening time after time. People wanted to talk to us. We went somewhere, I don't remember, I think it was a cavern or something. So we're standing there in line, and these people just start talking to us. And we're like, and my husband Dale even said, he's like, man, we can't find any friends in Florida, but here we are on vacation, and everybody's nice. Everybody's talking to us. And, it was just a sincere feeling. Long story short, it was this essence around the whole state. Like, have you experienced anything? Well, and like my brother, he lives in New York. And so he comes to Florida. And Florida, to him, feels like, North Carolina does to us. Like, he feels like coming from New York that Floridians are so much,
Nicer.
there's a warmer feeling to it. Have you experienced anything like that?
So
like taking an area and feeling an essence of a community, city or
yes. So what's funny is I have 2 examples that like I thought of while you were talking. The first one's Ireland. Like, oh my gosh, you don't know a stranger in Ireland.
Wow.
And like I always thought like Southern hospitality was pretty amazing. And I'm like Florida born and bred, and like I'm, and I love Florida, and I love like the, I don't know, like we're really like relaxed, and we're sort of kind of this melting pot of like Caribbean but Southern, and so it's like, I don't know, I think it's cool, I like it, but and I'm a very social person, right? Like I don't know a stranger, and like there are days where I will just like baseball cap it and like dark sunglasses and like like try to hide, but most days, if I'm going out, I'm like, okay, you geared up for this for a couple days. We're going out.
You geared up for a couple days. You meditated. 12 hours. No.
We're going to be around people.
Put on your people face.
So, but when my husband and I, Adam, when we went to Ireland, it was like, well, first it was really scary because like you'd walk into anywhere and for whatever reason, like I don't feel like we fit in. Like I thought for sure.
You felt like you stood out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And maybe it was just our loud American accent. Well, my loud American accent, not his. He's quiet. But I don't know whether it was that or like, I mean, because there were blondes there. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought, like, Ireland, you're going to have, like, blondes and redheads. My husband and I are both, like blondes. And but I didn't really feel like we, like, fit in. And, like, as soon as you walked into anywhere, everyone turned around to look at you. Oh, my
gosh. I would die.
Which, I'm like, I don't, like.
Yeah, you'd be like, hi!
Like, like, I'm no stranger to a stage, but at the same time, like, even I was like, oh, God, these people are looking at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have something in my, like, what's going on? And, but then, like, they, like, look at you, and they're like, what's your last name?
Really?
And luckily, Adam has an Irish last name.
Wow.
And so we would
then
say
maybe they're
name.
all about they're
they're absolutely, but they're so kind to everyone.
Yeah.
But they want to know, like who you are, who your people are, where you're from.
Wow. Heritage,
yes.
like stuff. Oh,
yeah.
Deep roots.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. And
that's
so,
kind of cool.
But like, oh my gosh, the people in Ireland are amazing. And
That's
when
cool.
they say like come stay with us, or like, where are you staying? Do you have a place to stay?
I'm visiting Greece, and I heard that. I heard that in Greece that they're like, don't be surprised that people invite you. And I'm like,
yeah. Oh, we met.
oh my gosh.
I mean, they may not know that they're lifelong friends, but they are now our life. No, they do.
Yeah.
They are now our lifelong friends. The husband and wife, like, they took us in, and
that's crazy.
They like, I mean, we didn't stay with them because we were staying at a place, but like, she fed us sandwiches, and they were so yummy, and this like lemon ice cake, and it was just like, just the hospitality was amazing, and so you just feel that love everywhere. Now, okay, second story, since that one was really long-winded, sorry.
No, I loved it.
New York. So I always wanted to go to New York, and 2 years ago, was it was right before COVID. So was it 2019?
You guys went.
Yeah, 2019. Okay, so we my mom and I went with our daughter in the spring, she had a singing trip, and it was like this amazing thing that she worked with like Broadway directors and people, and it was amazing. And then my husband and I went before we went up the
that's right.
New England little trip. Cruise,
Cruise.
And so my mom is very much like me, of where she doesn't know a stranger. And so is my daughter. And so when we, you always hear, oh, New Yorkers are so grumpy. Like, they're just, like, really whatever. And so I was very intimidated going to New York for the first time that, like, people were going to be rude. Ironically enough, the only rude person that I ever met in New York was the Irish bartender.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, this is funny. Because I had gone to Ireland the year prior, and so it was still like fresh. But like on the subway, I heard so many people's stories on the subway.
Really?
And I mean, granted, I chatted them up of where I was like,
tell me your story.
Yeah, where I was like, oh, you gotta have strong toes on this subway, right? Or I don't know. I would say something stupid to break the ice, and it was like, this guy was going to he was going to this job interview, and he was really nervous about it, but he was also really excited about it too. And so I got to hear like his whole story, and then like at the end I was like, good luck on the interview. Like, I hope you have like a great, experience. Yeah. And so
go team go.
Yeah. And so it's like, so I think that while some places have that collective energy of just like amazingness or not so amazing, you can also change it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so, okay, so there's my two stories. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, basically exactly that. It's like, instead of looking at it from a perspective of, over spiritualizing or whatever, just like that cause and effect.
Yeah.
And there are certain circumstances. I mean, why else do we say stuff like, did you feel the tension in the room?
Yes.
I mean,
when someone just
that's
gets in,
not energy, So I think we're a lot more familiar with it than we realize. We just don't.
As humans, yes. Yeah. We have that sixth sense, but we just don't really talk about it, or we don't rationalize it, or, it's just like, it's just there. So you're talking about feeling that tension when someone fights in a room. And you walk in, and you're like, oh, whoa.
This don't feel so awesome.
Yeah, some bad ish just went down. Yeah. And like, you can feel it, even though you weren't there. You have no idea. Yeah. Like, but you can, like, feel the energy, because everything has energy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's hard, too, because I think that some people who fight against that or don't, they're like, oh, well, that could be perceived as judgmental or, this. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I definitely feel like 9 times out of 10, I know for me, it's like when you sense something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's that intuition.
Yeah.
The more you use your intuition, just like with any skill or whatever, you build that up. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that's what makes people good detectives or good investigators or researchers or whatever, because they get a hunch and they're like, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And then they keep digging. Well, nothing, necessarily happened for them to feel that way, except for they were using their intuition.
Right.
Based on whatever they felt.
And I think a part of that, though, that's important, though, is where is that coming, making sure where you're coming from, being in a place of light or shadow, too. Because it's easy for you to be like, this person hurt me once, so, this is always going to be that, stuff like that. But I don't know. I think it's just important always coming from a place of higher vibrational love, positivity, because that I think is the difference between, intuition or being judgmental. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so. So
Because I definitely feel like we stereotype. As humans, we stereotype.
Oh, we do. Yeah, that's
And
Psychology
there's-
101.
Yeah, and so there's somewhere or another that line between where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of love and light and higher vibrational energy, or is it coming from a place of shadow? To where you're you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, like, for example, I think this is what you're saying. So, like, if we see someone that, like, may, like, seem, like, happy and whatever on the outside, but you just get this feeling of, like, oh, I don't think you're a good person.
Right.
And you feel that energy of whatever their shadow side that is off balance with their light side.
Right.
And so you're
Yeah.
feeling that.
Versus, like, let's say you run into someone and they're covered with, I'm using a very stereotypical, but covered with tattoos or something. Like, especially like an older generation might be like, ooh, shadow. You know, where that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
Like, that's coming from, like, a human, shadowy, more perspective of labeling things. And that's grandma telling you that, not your intuition.
Yeah, no, I think, so, like, everyone has light and shadow, and it's all goes to what do you feed it?
Yeah.
So what side do you feed? Do you feed your light side? Do you feed your dark side? Now, here's the other thing, is that can I just say this too? Like, oh God. All right. So, like, being light is, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but this is a pet peeve. So, light is, in the woo-woo world, so you have like light worker, light workers are, of enlightenment.
Yeah.
And then there's awakened, and then woke.
Woke. You know,
Woke makes me want to. That's what woke makes me want to do, because it has become this, like, politicized word.
Yeah.
That is just like, now it's
And it comes from, I think, a lot of times when people
place
are
of negativity.
And when they're saying it, a lot of times they're not saying it applying to themselves.
No.
They're saying it and applying it to other, and that's not your position to say whether or not they're woke or not. In the
woke.
first place.
Wokeness.
So, are you saying that you are woke?
No,
On the concept of being irritated by woke?
I am. I have awakened that I am aware that that annoys the shit out of me.
So woke. No,
Woke,
just kidding.
Yeah. You wanna trigger me? Say woke.
No.
Trigger, that's another word. I don't. So anyways, but so where was I going before my wokeness? I'm sorry. I was feeding my shadow dragon there for a minute.
You were saying it depends on what you feed it.
Yeah. And so at the same time, like, we strive for this enlightenment, to be awakened, to be aware of, not only of our community.
Yeah.
And to be the penguins, and to make sure that, like, our community is good and happy and light and all of that, but at the same time, don't deny the shadow.
Yeah.
You have to have that good balance. Because what happens if we're too light, which can absolutely be a thing.
Oh, that reminds me of a saying I heard the other day that was, like, really resonated with me, and it said something like, the tricky part, and I think as humans what we struggle with, and I think it goes into what you're saying, is like the overwhelming desire to either transcend or immerse. So it's like we're either too much into, the grounding, the current, this experience, or we're striving too much to transcend, and the balance being there in the middle, living the experience, addressing the shadows, but yet keeping in touch with source. Yeah.
So what happens, whenever we're too transcended, is you're like the Phoebe on Friends, where your head is in the clouds, and you're just like
humming. No, sorry.
And you can't reach anyone because your head is so much in the clouds that you're so way up here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that is amazing, but that's not going to do anything to help your community, your collective.
And we're here. We chose to be here.
Yes.
We're here for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to have that balance. And I wish I knew more about like the actual yin and yang. Do you know more about the yin and yang, or just that it has to have like the balance of the?
No, I know I've heard about polarities. What she said. And just kind of the importance of the two working as a whole. I'm trying to think of other references, and you've got like the feminine and the masculine energy,
the femininity and the
that's
masculinity.
The same concept. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah,
for being my interpreter. I can say it, I promise. If I try really hard. If I try really, really hard, but we're trying to not be here all day. But I think it's just no matter what word, whether you can pronounce it or not, you try to spin it. It's just the two equaling a whole. Yeah. And that is the balance. That is where the balance, that's the sweet spot, So, yeah. That's
the balance with everything, right? So like even with the pentagram. Pentagram is the enclosed by the circle, and then there's the Chinese medicine star, and so like I get acupuncture done every 2 weeks, and so like you have like these different meridians in your body. I'm gonna butcher this. Celeste is going to watch this and she's going to be like, oh.
She's not a doctor.
No, I'm not a doctor.
See, you're good. You can say whatever.
Yeah. So
the thing and the thing.
And so like with the star, I have the star in my kitchen. So it's like the top is God, source, universe, spirit, like God, and then you have the 4 elements. And with the star you have like each point is equal, because you have to have equality like to bring a whole like balance. So with the fire, air, water, and earth, and so it's like that's where I was getting with acupuncture, is that it's the same thing, is that so you have these different elements, and except for in Chinese medicine, it's wood and metal, and so for your body, for the qi to be moving effectively throughout your body, you want everything to be in this like cohesive coexistence, like perfect like balance, and so you have like sometimes you can have like split meridians or too much inflammation or not enough, and so you like move things around through these different points. And that is a very basic way of like describing it. But then you look at all these different cultures and all these different things, and then of course like the yin and the yang, and I'm trying to think of other examples that we have within but anyways, you have like all of these.
I know astrology. I learned recently. Someone said, that the more balanced the elements are within your chart, kind of the same concept.
Yes, the more balanced the person, and because that is what we want, right? To live a balanced life. To be the best that we can possibly be for not only ourselves and our families, but
Yeah.
for everyone as a whole.
And like we said, I mean, this, when we talked about some of the, touched a little bit on soul contracts and incarnation stuff last episode, it's like, I believe we chose to be here through this experience, and
Yeah.
to learn
Oh,
and
absolutely.
to better
Mhm.
and go through. And so it's like, tap into that light and tap into that shadow, and
Mhm.
you know, grow from it and learn from it, and
Yep.
be a part of the experience. Somewhere balance between transcending and emerging.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool. That's cool.
So,
That's
yeah.
cool. Wow. Episode 4?
Episode 4.
Episode 4. Join us for episode 4, where we talk about North Nodes and soul paths. And that will be a really cool, interesting episode as well. I'm excited.
Awesome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.